Hey y'all, thank you for allowing me to come into your house. Welcome to another Revolutionary Minute, and thanks for coming and hanging out with me. Listen, I want to talk to you guys about important issues that are going on in our culture. And you know as well as I know that the elections are coming right around the corner. 2012, they're coming around. It's very important. The elections are very important. So, am I going to tell you who to vote for? Absolutely not. I believe that God has given you the free will for you, the intelligence, the intellect, to choose the right person. Why? In the book of Romans, God says that He has engraved His law, His moral laws in your heart. So I'm trusting that God is God and that you have a free will to choose which is the candidate that is best for us. It is up to you whether you're going to believe God or not. It is up to you whether you believe in God or not. The moral choice is still yours. You know what's right and wrong. It's up to you. Are you going to really actually listen to the voice that says that's right or this is wrong? That is the question. So I have absolute confidence in you and your ability. What I'm going to talk about, though, is that this election is not about the economy. See, America's cancer is not about a failed economy. It is not about bad foreign policy. No, it is about a bankrupt morality. America's cancer is not about a failed economy, a bad foreign policy, but it truly is about a bankrupt morality. Our leaders are not leading with character of morality or absolute truth. And that is the problem why we have ourselves and we are in the place where we are today. If we heal the roots, then the tree will produce good fruits. If we heal the roots, the tree will produce good fruits. America's roots are damaged, they're sickly, they're feeble, because we have rejected God as the supreme God in our lives. That's very important. Very important. So we need to heal those roots. How? By coming back to God. So one of the main issues that I am suggesting for you to really look at, and look at both candidates, what they stand for, is abortion. Abortion is a big topic, man. It's not the economy, it's abortion. Abortion is a moral issue. And the more that we stray away from the absolute moral standards of God, the less as a society will we survive. Why? Because there's no limits. How do we tell a limit? How do we tell a criminal, you cannot do this or that, if there is no absolute moral code? We can't do it. We can't. Everyone is just doing whatever is relative to them. What's good for me is good for me. Whatever is good for you is good for you. So let's just all be happy and tolerate each other. That will not work, because then that means that we will have to accept the murderer's point of view, belief systems, and behavior as equal to ours. We would have to accept the behavior, beliefs, and view of a pedophile to the same or as equal as ours, according to equal rights. But when we have a standard of truth that comes from an objective source like God, then there's no way that we can subjectively say that truth is what I say, my preference or my opinion. Abortion is wrong because God says that to take the life of a human being is wrong. Abortion is wrong because it is God who says in the book of Psalms 139 that He carefully and lovingly, intrinsically created life in the mother's womb, man. He put us together. The fingerprints of God are all over our lives. And so to have an abortion or to kill the potential of God is wrong, because it is God who gives life. And we can't play God. It is absolutely wrong, man. If we continue doing this, it's only our own fault that America keeps going down the spiral, the slippery slope that it continues to go in. Abortion is wrong, man. Check it out. If you have sex today and you want to abort the child tomorrow, just to make sure you take the abortion pill. If you've waited a couple of days, maybe a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and the baby has grown a little bit, well, you can go. That's no problem. They'll go and they'll chop up the baby. They'll rip it apart. They'll tear it apart. They'll do everything to that baby. They'll butcher it, man. And then they'll insert a tube so that they can then just suction the baby out. And this is a very potentially high suction, man, a potential high suction. It is not like just like a small vacuum cleaner. This has the potential of ripping apart harder materials than tissue or flesh of a child. If the gestation period of the child that you're thinking of aborting is a little bit bigger than that, then they'll do what is called partial birth abortion. Partial birth abortion is when they first give the mother some chemicals, some medication to induce the labor. Once the mother is dilated and it's easier to get the baby, the butcher or the doctor, he will start inserting an instrument that will pull one leg out first, the second leg out first, then the torso of the baby, then one arm, then another arm. But he will be very careful to leave the head in, at least to the crown of the head. Why? Because legally they're still battling whether the baby is still a live human being or not. But as long as you can keep the head in, they still say that it's not a live human being yet. So once the baby's head is out enough, but still the crown of the head is still in the vagina of the mom, he jams a scissor, the murderer, the butcher, the doctor, jams scissors into the back of the baby's skull. Then that's not enough. He widens and opens those scissors. He just opens a hole, a gash into the baby's skull. He inserts this vacuum that sucks out the baby's brains. Now the baby all this time is alive. The baby is kicking and moving its arms. But you know what? It eventually stops because it dies. It's killed. It's been murdered. Then the baby stops. The doctor finally pulls the head out and discards the baby, the human life that was just a beautiful creation, as garbage. That's not enough. They don't stand there. One of these candidates supports that even if the failed abortion or the abortion that was attempted to do fails and the baby is still alive outside of the womb and can survive without life support, that baby can still be murdered or killed. So they will take that baby and leave it to die on its own, and it has happened. Research it. In some states, the failed abortions, baby have been given an actual birth certificate, left to die, and then pronounced dead and given a death certificate. People, is that right or is that wrong? You tell me. Is that right or is it wrong? Are we going to choose a leader that is his philosophy, that is his ideology, abortion on demand based on health issues? Well, let me define to you what health issues is according to the law. It is not physical issues. I understand that if a mother is going to die, she has to choose between her life or the baby's life. That's understandable. But it is not defined solely on the basis of physical ailments. It is based on emotional things or psychological events. If the mother thinks and feels, and she gets a doctor to agree that she's going to look ugly and too fat and stretch marks, and that's going to bring emotional distress, and the doctor signs off on it, guess what? The murder of the baby is sanctioned. It is legal. It can happen. So any reason, any excuse that is sanctioned by a doctor according to the definition of health is A-OK with this administration. Think about it. God has written his moral code in your hearts. It's up to you whether you're going to choose to do the right thing or not. I'm going to put a small video that's going to explain how partial birth abortion takes place. It is not graphic. It is just a doctor demonstrating with a doll how it's done, what happens, what takes place. And I dare you to not feel a tug in your heart, which is God, whether you believe in God or not. It is God tugging at your heart and saying, that is my creation, that is my child, and you are just killing someone. Here's the video. I'll talk to you soon. And as always, thank you for hanging out with me at the Revolutionary Minute. Peace, y'all. Much love. Later.
The next technique we're going to demonstrate is the partial birth abortion. Partial birth abortion is a term that we hear a lot about in the news, but I really can't believe that people really understand what it means. Otherwise, we would not allow this procedure to be performed anywhere, not only in this country, but in the world. But a partial birth abortion is performed when the baby is too far developed in order to either be sucked out with a suction curette or to be able to be dismembered and brought out piece by piece with this forceps. A partial birth abortion, or a D and X, is very similar to what it says. We're going to deliver the majority of the baby, and then before the baby's head is delivered, then we're going to actually kill the baby. Now, before the procedure would start, the cervix would have already received those things we talked about called laminaria. Those are the sticks that go into the cervix that would then swell overnight and would open up the cervix because we have a lot more baby to deliver. And this can be performed anywhere up to term because remember, Doe versus Bolton defined mother's health as physical, emotional, psychological, familial, and age. So as long as the physician under those definitions says mother's health is in jeopardy, this procedure can be performed. Now, using an ultrasound to guide, the cervix will be dilated, the speculum would already be in place to open things up, and then using the ultrasound as a guide, this instrument would be placed in the inside through the cervix and would then grab one of the baby's feet. Once that foot is grabbed with that tenaculum, that baby's foot is then brought to the outside. Once that first foot is brought to the outside, then the second foot would be brought to the outside, and then with traction with a baby that is still alive, the baby would then have both legs delivered, would then have its belly delivered. Once the baby is brought further down, first one arm would be delivered, that would be rotated this way, and then the baby is rotated around the other way, and the second arm is delivered. Now the entire baby from the neck down is now alive and in the abortionist's hands that's performing this procedure. The entire baby, including the head, are already out of the womb, beyond the cervix, and the only thing that's left on the inside of the mother is the baby's head, but that's only just inside the vagina. And baby is moving, baby is alive, baby is intact up to this point. But if the baby then delivers, it's then considered a live birth, and the baby would have to go to the nursery. But before that's allowed to happen, this is when the abortion would actually kill the baby. And the way they do that is, if you remember from biology class, there's that connection between the brain and the spinal cord, and that opening at the base of the skull is called the foramen magnum. And that small hole with the baby moving and alive in one hand, a pair of scissors, these are called Metzenbaum scissors. These scissors are then placed into the base of the skull, and these scissors are then placed in through that foramen magnum up into the baby's brain and skull cavity. The scissors are then opened up, and then if that hasn't killed the baby, then one of the suction curettes is then placed through that same hole up into the baby's skull and brain. The suction is applied, and just how you saw how powerful that suction machine is, if it can crush the steel can, then it can definitely kill the baby there on the inside. Once the baby has then been killed and is no longer alive, then the remainder, which is just the baby's head, is then delivered, and the procedure is then completed for the delivery of the baby. Once the baby is delivered, though, then the only thing that's left is to deliver the placenta by just, again, scraping the placenta and bringing that down. So when you hear the term partial birth abortion, that's what's going on. A baby is being delivered, the feet, the abdomen, the chest, the arms and the legs. The baby is then killed, and then once the baby is killed, then the remainder of the baby is allowed to be delivered. So that's partial birth abortion.